Hello. So there's this rap duo called Bob Vylan. That's rap spelt with a C, of course. And Bobby Vylan, one of that duo, started a chant, "Death to the IDF," from his stage at the Glastonbury Festival. And the enthusiastic response from his audience was to repeat that back to him. It really bothered me, but I have to tell you, I couldn't actually pin down why. I kept thinking, it's deeply, deeply wrong. But actually, why is it wrong? After all, he wasn't shouting for the death of an individual, was he? What exactly was it that was so disturbing? And I had to spend some time worrying over it. In fact, I had to sleep on it. And this morning I woke up with the answer. It's this. It's yet another example of the Islamisation of British society. That chant is absolutely typical of the mobs that push the political agenda in any Muslim majority society I can think of right now. In direct contrast to our culture, it is a complete and absolute violation of the sort of civilised discourse which we've taken 1,000 years to construct. 1,000 years of trial and error to construct, I have to add. But in any Islamic culture, it's a common thing to chant death to, well, insert your villain du jour here. It's chanted every day in the assemblies called by the fanatical regime fostered by the Ayatollahs in Iran. It happens at any demonstration or group political gathering in almost any Muslim majority country that allows a mob to assemble. And that's what was worrying me. It was a normalisation of the invoking of death as an argument. No call for discussion, no idea of nuance, just a call for death. And it represents the degeneration of everything that Western society stands for. And it was broadcast, as is, by the BBC. I'm Granniopteryx. Please click like for this video and please share it. Also, of course, subscribe, because the more subscribers I have, the further this video will go. If you want to contribute financially, you can do that too, of course. There's Subscribe Star, Buy Me a Coffee, and YouTube's very own Super Thanks. All the links are in the description. As I've said before, any contributions you might make will probably get eaten up, quite literally, by my horses, mostly in hay, grass and mint imperials, which is the reason I can't afford to have an air conditioner installed in this baking attic. But that's another story. Right, I'm going to start with a comparison that some people may consider somewhat strange, because I'm going to compare the dreadful events of the Nova Festival in October 2023 with Bobby Vylan's unhinged rant from the Glastonbury stage last week. But bear with me, because philosophically at least it has a lot in common. In 2023, a group of young people gathered to celebrate life, music and the optimism of a future that lay ahead. Their idealism was shattered by the intrusion of an army of death cult devotees, twisted into a level of savagery which I don't think any of us watching this video, or me making it, could even imagine. And although some of the victims of that attack were saved, Several have subsequently put themselves out of their own misery because they couldn't live with what had been revealed to them about how creatures that have human form could be possessed by a satanic malevolence beyond any human comprehension. And in a theoretical way, and obviously dialed down many notches, that was what happened at Glastonbury. Glastonbury is a celebration of light and music, and it was suddenly intruded upon by the vicious evil of a death cult. Of course, it didn't feel like that, and the effects weren't physical, but I wonder how many of the partygoers at the Glastonbury Festival will suffer the mental effects of that death chant led by Bobby Vylan from the stage. The military force that rescued the remnants of the Nova Festival, the military force who rescued the surviving farmers in their besieged villages, that was the IDF. And it was those very protectors of their people against whom Bobby Vylan was leading the chant. Actually, it's sort of ironic that the stage name that team chose is a corruption of the name of one of the greatest songwriters and social protesters of the 20th century. A Jewish man, by the way. It looks like Bobby Vylan corrupts everything he touches. But I digress. Bobby Vylan created a mindset in which violence, not only against a specific group, but against any supporters or loose associates of that group, becomes justifiable. It isn't specific to this situation, of course. We've only to study the case of Lee Rigby, cut down in the street by people who were brainwashed into believing the whole British Army was a force of evil. And that's why this sort of thing can't be allowed because, well, as I have frequently heard, what starts with the Jews doesn't ever end with the Jews. The other thing that Vylan corrupted was the contract we have with entertainers. Entertainers are supposed to entertain. Their message may be political, but it's not supposed to be one that whips the audience into a frenzy of hatred. When someone like Bobby Vylan uses an entertainment platform to chant death to any group, it has broader implications beyond a disagreement with, in this case, the IDF. We all know that without the IDF, Israel and all the Jews in it would be completely eradicated, and probably in the same sort of brutal way that we saw happening at the Nova Festival. Actually, it wouldn't only apply to the Jews. It would also apply to the Druze and the Christians as well. Just look what's happening to them in Syria right now. Oh, we're not getting too much of that from the BBC, are we? But it's happening anyway. Dreadful things are happening. Bob Vylan was actually, and without a doubt, calling for genocide. He was also calling for the death of British culture. Think about that. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.